Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. We do the philosophy of eschatology. We are not open. Our building is locked, although I had 3 people contact me this week and say, open up again. Well, we'll see what happens. People are starting to get interested again in the end times. Call first, 612-315-6778. We try to teach you the story behind the story. There are some wonderful people like John Haller out there that teach you everything about the news. I can't do that. I just don't have the desire to do that for 80 to 100 hours a week and then giving you an hour and a half or 3 hours per week of information. I just don't feel like doing that. And I'd rather do something interesting about the story behind the story. So the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, our reality, our existence. We try not to be desperate, try to make sense with what's going on. It is newspaper exegesis, no doubt about it, but there's nothing wrong with that. And if you really read Matthew 24 properly, you'll see that is telling you to watch for newspaper exegesis. We're Beth Hesed. I have friends that claim the rapture has to occur pre-trib because God won't beat the bride. Or will he beat the bride? Let's discuss it today. So once again, there are many different ideas of when Yeshua returns: pre-trib rapture, mid-trib rapture, post-trib rapture, pre-wrath rapture, or partial rapture. Well, many of them cite the word orge. 1 Thessalonians 5:9 talks about we're not appointed to wrath. Okay, fine. Well, but then again, there have been a whole lot of martyrs over the last few thousand years. So I'm arguing, based on the verses you're going to see, that God would beat the bride before the wedding. And I'm going to give you the reason why and who would do the beating. And you'll get a better idea based on the verses. So, and we're going to cite Song of Solomon, which will be interesting for you. So just so you can look at the standard case, which is that we're in the church age, the age of grace, and then the rapture occurs, and then the orge wrath of God occurs, and then the second coming occurs, and then the millennium. And I'm arguing, nope. He has to beat the bride to keep us chaste all the way through. You're going to be here, and I'll give you the verses again for why. Sloppy agape. The problem is we've been taught this cheap grace, this, as I stated, sloppy agape. Agape is the form of love. There are many different forms in the Greek. Basically, grace has been labeled as a license to sin, and it's no more of a license to sin than the electricity is a license to electrocute yourself. There's always these straw man arguments, and that's one of them, although that's probably an electrical wire straw man. I don't like grace abuse. I don't really argue as Luther would. He puts so much on grace, and so I am more of a Torah person, and so I realized that based on Romans 2:11 through 16, everyone will be held accountable for what they seem to understand. So don't sin boldly. Don't act like Martin Luther. And yeah, goodness gracious, poor Luther. He had some other issues too. He hated Jews. Oh, he hated Jews. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we do the philosophy of eschatology. We're arguing that God has the right to beat the bride, that he should beat the bride, and that it is in the scriptures. Let's find it. Let's try not to twist the Bible. Let's look at prophecy. Let's look at the news and see what's going on in the philosophy of the end of days. So we have to reconcile here. We have Fox's Book of Martyrs, which shows all these horrific martyrs, the martyrdom, but yet on the other hand, we have Romans 5:9 through 10, which is, therefore, since we have now come to be considered righteous by means of his bloody sacrificial death, how much more will we be delivered through him from the anger of God's judgment? For if we were reconciled with God through his son's death when we were enemies, how much more will we be delivered by his life now that we are reconciled? So that's Romans. Interesting. But yet, that doesn't talk about the rapture, and it doesn't necessarily state that you'll be raptured before God's judgment. It says delivered, but what does that actually mean? And I'm arguing more covered or hidden. But these wonderful martyrs over the last thousands of years, they've died in faith, and they were never raptured. Okay, continuing on, here's 1 Thessalonians 1:9 through 10. Since they themselves keep telling us about the welcome we received from you and how you turned to God from idols to serve the true God, the one who is alive, and to wait for his son Yeshua, whom he raised from the dead, to appear from heaven and rescue us from the impending fury of God's judgment. Okay, does that really say pre-trib rapture? No, but it does seem to be that he's going to rescue us somehow. But as I state again, with Fox's Book of Martyrs, there's been many people that died for many different reasons over thousands of years based on their faith. And so they were not raptured. So we'll see. Okay, continuing on, as I stated, this is 1 Thessalonians 5, 9 through 10. This is a big one. For God has not intended that we should experience his orge, but that we should gain deliverance through our Lord Yeshua the Messiah, who died on our behalf, so that whether we are alive or dead, we may live along with him. So I'm arguing that, once again, Fox's Book of Martyrs lists all these horrific deaths, and that they were not raptured out. And so, yes, these verses are meaningful, but do they actually prove a pre-trib rapture? Do they cite timing or anything like that? No, they're very general. Okay, now we're going to go into verses that support my case, because I gave the other side first. So let's look at it. Dinah was raped by Shoulders, that's Shechem, the son of Terror, and this is from Genesis 34. One time Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to visit the local girls, not a good idea in a strange city, and Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivi, the terrorist, the local ruler, saw her, grabbed her, raped her, and humiliated her. But actually he was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He fell in love with the girl and tried to win her affection. Shechem spoke to his father, the terrorist, and said, "Get this girl for me. I want her to be my wife." Okay. It was all wrong. I mean, she shouldn't have wandered out into a strange city. She was raped and humiliated. The brothers did nothing at first. The father did nothing. Jacob did nothing. Then they came back and murdered everybody in the city. Got their sister back. Horrible situation. Somebody should have been safeguarding her. The term would be Shushverim or Shomrim, and I'm going to show you the words in a little bit in their context in Song of Solomon. Okay, continuing on. This is from Isaiah 26, 19 through 21, and this is quoted by everybody. Your dead will live, your corpses will rise. This is the resurrection. Awake and sing, you who dwell in the dust, for your dew is like the morning dew, and the earth will bring the ghosts to life. Come, my people, Ami. So it's not the people that he hates, it's the people that he loves, it's his people. Come, enter your rooms, cheder in the Hebrew, and that's with a het, and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. In some ways, the cheder could be the bridal chamber. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be, because it's Hebrew and it could have a deeper meaning, but it could be your bridal chamber. I wish it would be specifically that, but I couldn't prove it through. And shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. And I should have looked up which one that is. That might be off. For see, Adonai emerges from his place to punish those on the earth for their sin. The earth will reveal the blood shed on it and no longer conceal its slain. So that's Isaiah 26, 19 through 21. What I'm getting at with this is it doesn't say the rapture. And rapture people cite these verses, but it does talk about entering your room, potentially your bridegroom or bridesmaid or whatever, your bride's room, cheder, and shut the doors behind you. He's telling you specifically, hide yourself for a period of time until the wrath is overpassed. And this is really like Passover. So we've seen this before. Mark your doors, stay inside, don't go out, and don't be raped like Dinah. Okay, so now we're going to see this popping up in Song of Solomon. I'm going to be arguing that as the case. And keep in mind, I'm a guy. I'm a tough guy. And so I have problems with being a bride. I'd rather be the bridegroom, but I understand the analogies and how Yeshua is the bridegroom. So, okay, night after night on my bed, I looked for the man that I love. I looked for him, but I didn't find him. I will get up now and roam the city. Oh, that's not a good idea. That's a really bad idea. Okay, it didn't work for Dinah. Through the streets and the open places, I will look for the man that I love. Don't do it, lady, just don't do it. I looked for him, but I didn't find him. The guards, the Shomrim, or the Shushverim, roaming the city have found me. Have you seen the man I love? And you're going to notice in verse 4, so this is Song of Solomon 3, 1 through 3, but verse 4 talks about the cheder. And so that's that bridal room that she's supposed to be in, but she's out roaming the city, and that's when bad things happen, so just keep it in mind, okay? And then Song of Solomon 5. The man I love, the Messiah, of course, put his hand through the hole by the latch door, and my heart began pounding at the thought of him. I got up to open for the man I love. My hands were dripping with myrrh. Pure myrrh ran off my fingers onto the handle of the bolt. I opened for my darling, but my darling had turned and gone. My heart had failed me. When he spoke, I sought him, but I couldn't find him. I called him, but he didn't answer. The watchman, the Shomrim. Okay, now you see them specifically there. That is Shomrim, Shomrim. It's basically the guys that are guards that are supposed to watch the bride and keep her chaste, okay, and make sure that Dinah doesn't get raped. Okay, the watchmen roaming the city found me. They beat me. They wounded me. They took away my cloak. They made her naked. Okay, those guardians of the walls. Well, she wasn't supposed to be out. I mean, so really, the good bride is supposed to stay in the chambers. The bad bride is riding the beast up there. You can see as Katy Perry is riding the beast, and the bad bride is Madonna down below. And we won't even describe what Madonna's done. But you're supposed to stay in your room or take the consequences. So if you're a good bride, hey, stay in your room. Everything's fine. If you're a bad bride, you go out into the city, you'll probably get raped and you'll probably die. And the Shomrim, or in the best case scenario of that, the Shomrim, the Shushverim in the Hebrew, they will find you, they'll beat you, and they'll send you back, and you'll be protected. They're guardians of the walls, and that's what they're supposed to do. And they're going to take away your cloak so that they can go back to their buddy, the bride, the groom rather, and say, guess what's going on? She's out in the streets. So now, there are many terms in a typical Jewish, Orthodox Jewish type wedding. And so you've got the katuna, the wedding, the katan, the groom, the kala, the bride. And that's kind of like a call, which would be eating. I mean, it's the groom kind of eats the bride up. He just loves her so much. And so the Kabbalah is receive panim. That's like the face, facing people. So receiving the FaceTime. Okay, reception. And then the covering is the bedaken, and the chuppah is the marriage canopy. The kiddushin is the betrothal, the katan, giving the ring for the kala, the ketubah. Oh, that's wonderful. The marriage contract. That's the Torah. That's our Bible. Okay. The yikud is the union. The shava brakot is the 7 blessings, and the sedah is the meal. Okay. So from Judaism Stack Exchange.com, the Talmud talks about having Shushverim. It's a bait or vait, it doesn't matter. Shushverim. Close friends escort the bride and groom to the point that someone who is the Shushverim, a Shushmin at your wedding, can't testify in court about you because it's such a close connection between the groom and his guardsmen. What is found today is having a good friend serve as the honor escort, the shomer, and the shamar would be like shamaring the Torah. Shomer would be guarding the bride or the groom. A day or so before the wedding, or 1,000 years or so before the wedding, if you get my connection there, the bride and the groom shall be treated as VIPs so that they shouldn't go out unattended. Hence, a good friend accompanies them until the wedding to protect them from seeing each other, protect them from going out and getting raped. Okay, I'm not aware of any bridesmaids or groomsmen being part of what we'd expect in a traditional Jewish wedding, because it's not as important. It's more a guy like me would notice this. Okay, so we move on to the 4th paragraph. The Shomrim provide logistical and emotional support for the bride and groom, and for Orthodox couples, ensure that they don't accidentally see each other during the years, thousands of years leading up to the wedding. I have also seen Shomrim guard the door during Yikud. As for the bridesmaids, all wearing matching dresses. Oh, this is weird. This is so the demons can't tell who or something. That's you can read that for yourself. That's just absolutely bizarre, but that's their style. Okay, so now we're going to defend it with a few more verses here. Tekiah is the ingathering like we read here. Okay, so blow a tekiah, which is the long blast of the shofar. And if you have any concerns about that, just check again Numbers chapter 10, 1 through 10, and you'll see that. Blow the tekiah, the long blast of the shofar for Zion. Proclaim the holy fast, gather for a solemn assembly, gather the people, consecrate the congregation, assemble the leaders, gather the children, even the infants suckling at the breast. Let the bridegroom leave his room. Let the bride, the bridal chamber. So, I didn't look that up to see if that was the cheder. I'm so sorry about that. I'll look it up later on. I'll drop it into the comments. Okay, continuing on. So that was Joel 2:15. Now Revelation 3:10. And so I want to show you this in the Greek, but then take it into the Hebrew, because you did obey my message about perseverance. So you're a good bride, Okay, I will keep tereho in the Greek. It's shamar or safeguard. It's not the rapture. It's safeguard you from the time of trial coming upon the whole world to put the people living on the earth to test. I'm coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take away your crown, your Stephanos. It's not a diadem. It's not a kingly crown. It's a winner's crown. So you're just getting through and from this hour of trial. But you're shamarred. You're not raptured, okay? So you can't cite Revelation 3:10 if you understand the Greek and the Hebrew. Okay, bad brides. So we've got good brides that stay in their bridal chambers. We've got bad brides that get beat. Or they get worse than beat. They get raped, which is 10 times worse than being beaten. So, um, so basically, the verses that match with that is, my son, don't despise the discipline of Adonai or become despondent when he corrects you. For Adonai disciplines those he loves and whips everyone he accepts as a son or daughter. So that's Hebrews 12:5-6, or Proverbs 3:11-12. So keep in mind, God disciplines. He beats the bride because he loves the bride and because she wants to go out and meet the groom, and she shouldn't be doing that because she might get raped and brutalized. So instead, let God discipline you because he loves you. Here's some more verses and see which side you agree with, okay? Think deeply about it. Adonai was disciplining you just as a man disciplines his child, from Deuteronomy 8:5, Job 5:17. How happy is the person that God corrects. So don't despise Shaddai's discipline. Psalm 94:12. How happy the man whom you correct, Yah, whom you teach from your Torah. Okay? So all of this is discipline, but it's a good thing. Okay, and then finally, Revelation 3:18-19. My advice to you is to buy some gold refined by fire, so that you may be rich, and white clothing, so that you may be dressed, because you don't want to be naked, especially at a wedding, and not to have to be ashamed for your nakedness. Eye salve to rub on your eyes, so that you may see. As for me, I rebuke and discipline everyone I love. So exert yourselves and turn from your sins. So we are in the birth pangs right now. We are probably entering the fourth seal. We are not in the tribulation right now. The seals open up beforehand like birth pangs, like Matthew 24. Then you go into tribulation, and then you go into great tribulation. And God won't beat the bride. If it's a good bride, God won't beat her. But if you're a bad bride and you're out in the city, yeah, it's not going to go well. Either the Shomrim beat you, and that's a good thing, or you get raped. Okay, you choose. So there are bad people that pop up during the end times, like the Antichrist and the false prophet and Gog and the king angel from Revelation chapter 9 and his army and things like that. So the main thing is there's also Shomrim that beat up the bride if you're a bad bride. So be good and be like these people, the 144,000, the two witnesses, the Kedoshim. These are like the Shomrim. These are good people that keep you in line and keep you loving God and then getting through the Great Tribulation. Angels, archangels can be your friends. The fallen ones aren't yours, and then you're trying to find people that are in between and have their judgment suspended, and talk to them about Yeshua and about God and getting back in line. And there's still time, even after we go into the final 7 years. So, clean garments. You don't want to be naked. You want to have clean garments. It's a wedding. And so keep that in mind. And that's the end of this. And thank you very much for your time. And let's see if I can, there we go. Be blessed.